Today we're going to be recreating this horizontal navigation bar without any sizing media queries and using the CSS grid. What's nice about this bar is that it shrinks seamlessly whenever the viewport is being narrowed down. So no matter what device you're looking at it, it will shrink very nicely and it will still have the size needed for a tap. So the buttons are not too small or way too big that you see them one at a line. See how they're automatically in rows depending on the viewport, and there's no single sizing media query that says, okay, if the viewport is under 900 pixels, then have all the navigation items on one column. See, in the columns and the rows, it's very dynamic, and this is what we're going to recreate today. Now let's get started. We have our markup over here, the nav element with the UI, li, and the anchor tags over here. Now right now there is not much of a styling, but we're going to change that. I'm going to be using SCSS. You can use CSS for that. I just like SCSS or Sass because I love the nesting and really hope CSS brings nesting into it. And the markup is not the 100% correct one for website because I just want you to be focused on the navigation. And in this case, the horizontal navigation we're going to be doing. And we're not going to be making any hamburgers today. I just want to show you this menu. And the way this horizontal menu sizes, you don't really need a hamburger. Like if you have only a few items, you can go great without it and just show the items at all times. I have a couple websites which they don't have hamburgers. They're shown all the time, and I mean, I haven't had anyone complain. So let's get started. This is my CSS, and it has a class. This one has a container. I'm going to be simplifying the CSS, but obviously you should always code with using the class rather than a tag name. And I have a container which is max width is 1400 pixels and margin auto and stuff. So okay, first thing you want to do is have the O element. We want it to be a grid. So let's make it a grid. We're going to go display grid. Okay, and after that we want to make sure that the LIs are sized appropriately, and we want to make sure that the LIs are horizontal. We don't want them vertical. Now, one way to do that is to count the number of columns that we want to display it and then set the grid to that number. So let's go here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's do grid, template, columns, and let's do it repeat 9, 1 fracture of the size. Okay, now we have 9 columns over here, which is the same as the number of items, and they are all sharing the available space. Now the problem with this approach is that you have to count the number of columns every time, and adding and removing items is going to be very difficult. And let's remove portfolio, and it sizes approximately okay, but see, as we continue to remove, let's remove 3 of them. See, all the content shrinks to the left. And yes, we can have a justified center, but it's not ideal. And also, you have a lot of space. See, you have a lot of space that's being unused, and instead of the items being enlarged as the number shrinks, they're just going to be in one corner. And this is not what we want to do. And also, you have to write a lot of code to make it work on mobile. And one side note here, ideally, you should be doing this mobile first. And I'm doing it computer first, or excuse me, large viewport first, just for demonstration purposes. Now, let's open this up. Let's open this up in the browser to see how it's going to look when it has 9 columns. And as you can see, we are shrinking the viewport, but the column numbers remain the same. So if we go, for example, 320, which is one of the smallest phones, see how bad it looks and how the columns are overlapping each other. Now at this point, you have to write a media query that says if the viewport is larger than, let's say, 600 pixels, then reduce the number of columns. And you have to do this every time you add more items. And this is not ideal. So let's go and fix that. Now in a way that doesn't involve any media queries. Let's go and okay, so what we're going to want to do is we want the columns to be generated based on the items. So let's say it doesn't matter if we have 4 items, if we only have home, portfolio, contact us. We want the available space to be taken by these items, and we want them to shrink when more items are being added. Now in order to do that, we have to do template, grid template columns. We're gonna use repeat, auto fit. We're going to do min max, and over here you can just put an arbitrary number or the number you think your biggest item will be, 1 fraction, and save. Okay, that should do the trick. All right, I forgot a comma here. Okay, and there we go. Now all the items have taken up all the available space, and let's try to see it in the browser now. Since we haven't explicitly told the number of columns, we just said let the computer calculate, and see how the items are shrinking as the browser shrink. Now this is what we want. This is perfect. However, there's still a couple of issues. See how close those buttons are together? I'm sure you have seen some horrible UI designs for mobile where the buttons or the links are very close together. So if you want to tap, for example, Happy Stories Chancellor, we're going to mistype, tap. We're going to tap UX Guru or My Book. So we're going to fix that, but it's much better now that we're using auto-generated columns rather than the defined ones as we did before. Now let's go back and fix that. And now what we did here is we used the repeat function of the grid, which says basically repeat that much columns. We set it to auto fit, and we said we want each item to be a minimum of 91 pixels, and we want their maximum width is to be 1 fraction of the available space. Now, one fraction, excuse me. And that's how the CSS grid has calculated the amount of columns that needs to be put here. And I'm going to link some MDN sources so you can read more about repeat, autofill, and min-max. It's very interesting, and you should master that if you want to be very good at the CSS grid. Now let's start fixing and cleaning up our layout. Now what we want to do is we definitely want to create a gap because these buttons were way too close to each other. So we want to do grid gap of, let's say, 10 pixels, so they don't overlap. We don't want that. And we're going to align the content center. Now we're aligning it at center so that they look symmetrical, so that they look symmetric, excuse me. Now let's save this. Okay, now this looks way better than before. Now we actually have some spacing between the columns and the rows. It's much better than what it was before. And let's continue cleaning this up. Now the next thing we're going to do is we want to make these buttons a little bit bigger because they take just the space that they need, but we want them to be bigger so that it's easier to hit them with the mouse. Okay, now see You can still hit them with the mouse, but so let's give them a padding of 10 pixels. And of course, before that, let's display the block so they can actually benefit from the padding. There we go, much nicer now. We want to text align them center. Oops. And we want to spell center the correct way. And afterwards, let's apply some, we can apply some hover and active later on. Now these look really good. I don't know about you, but this is one nice looking horizontal navigation bar so far. It doesn't have any hover, active, or focus styles yet, but we're gonna fix that. But this is really nice. Now let's save and test it thing. It is spaced enough so that your finger will be able to tap them on mobile, and it is also very nicely stretching. And it stretches because as you reduce the width of the browser, the repeat autofit does the calculation for you. And as long as one item stays in 91 pixels, then it can smoosh the other ones so that they remain at the same width, and no item will ever go down 81 pixels. And the average size of human thumb is 40 pixels. It's in millimeters, but I forgot it right now. So you will be able to press it with no problems. And the same goes for tablet. Let's do 800, which is usually the width for a tablet, and it looks really nice. It stretches. Okay, so we're almost here. Focus, hover, and active. Now let's do that. We have our link. Now I'm using SAS here, but you can just copy and paste my code to any online preprocessor, or you can just use Grunt like I do. Now let's do hover, focus, and active. Now we're doing this because we were making it more accessible because there's no hover on mobile, but we want whenever the user taps on the item, they will see this transition applied, and that's pretty cool. And we also want focused and active to be highlighted if the user navigates with the tab. And let's do background darken. Now we want to make it darker with about 20%, and we want to add a border, 2 pixels, solid lime. So we want to make sure that the item that is focused, hovered, or active really stands out. And we put the percentage sign in the wrong place. Alright, and we want to add a transition so it looks slick. I don't like animations. 99% of the time I think they're useless, but I do like these nice transition stuff because it makes the interface come alive. And let's do text transform uppercase. Okay, awesome. So that our menu is more symmetrical. And now we saved it. Let's test it out. There we go. This looks really nice. Now, the only thing is the items should be aligned in the center. Okay, so aligning items in the center will give them a real symmetrical look. And we're pretty much done. Let's save it and test it out. Yes, awesome.